Mark and Sarah had been married for 10 years. Their life was ordinary on the surface: 2 bedrooms, a small garden, and laughter that echoed quietly through their modest home. But beneath the walls, life had grown heavy. Medical bills, late work hours, and the unspoken weight of responsibility pressed on them every day. Sarah had always been the kind one. She noticed the little things: how Mark's shoulders slumped after a long day, how his favourite tie was always wrinkled, how he quietly skipped meals when he was too busy grading papers. She didn't complain. She simply cared. One cold winter evening, Mark came home from work, his coat covered in snow, a tiredness etched into every line of his face. He had been working extra hours to cover the rising cost of their daughter's therapy sessions. Sarah greeted him with a soft smile, her own hands red from washing dishes. "You're late," she said gently. "I know," Mark muttered, loosening his tie. "The heating system at school broke. I stayed to make sure everyone got home safely." Sarah nodded. She poured him a cup of tea and watched him slump into the worn armchair. He looked exhausted, and her heart ached. "Mark," she said softly, sitting beside him, "you don't have to do everything alone." He shook his head. "I have to. We can't afford to fall behind." Sarah understood, but she also knew she had a way to help him, quietly, without him knowing. Over the past few months, she had been saving small amounts from her paycheck, clipping coupons, and even skipping treats she loved, all to create a little cushion for emergencies. Tonight, she decided it was time. "Go rest," she whispered. "I have something for you." Mark, too tired to argue, nodded and went to their bedroom. Sarah took out an envelope from a small drawer, a neat stack of bills she had quietly paid ahead of time, receipts tucked in carefully. She also included a note. "I see your struggles. I carry them with you, even when you don't notice. You're not alone. Love, Sarah." The next morning, Mark found the envelope on the kitchen table. He stared at it, confusion and surprise mixing in his eyes. He opened the note and read her words. His breath caught, and he felt an overwhelming wave of emotion. Sarah appeared at that moment, tying her apron. She smiled, though her own eyes shimmered with unshed tears. You did all this?" he asked, voice cracking. "I always do," she replied softly. "You work so hard, and I wanted you to know you're not carrying it alone." Mark felt tears sting his eyes. He had always thought of himself as the protector, the provider. But here was his wife, quiet, steadfast, kind, teaching him the truest lesson of all: that love isn't always loud. Sometimes it's patient, it's silent, it's a small act that can carry someone through their darkest nights. Over the following weeks, things slowly began to ease. The bills were paid, the therapy sessions uninterrupted, and Mark finally allowed himself to rest a little more, knowing Sarah was beside him, lifting him when he couldn't lift himself. One rainy afternoon, Mark came home earlier than expected. Sarah was folding laundry, humming softly, her hair damp from the drizzle outside. He walked up behind her and wrapped his arms around her. She froze, then relaxed into his embrace. "You've always been my strength," he whispered, "even when I didn't realize it." Sarah shook her head, smiling through tears. "No, we've always been each other's strength." They stood there quietly, listening to the rain patter against the windows. Outside, the world seemed cold and grey, but inside, their home glowed with a warmth that no hardship could dim. It was a love built on kindness, on sacrifice, on seeing each other even in the smallest moments. And it was in those silent, selfless acts that they found their greatest happiness. Because sometimes the greatest love stories aren't told in grand gestures. They're told in quiet sacrifices, in acts of kindness that go unnoticed by the world, but never by the one who matters most. And for Mark and Sarah, that was enough.